Hello, everybody. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. I tend to talk fast, and I tend to talk high pitch, low pitch, because I'm still going through puberty. Sorry, that's just what's going on. So I apologize now for that. I write terribly as well. When I write, I will be writing as big as I can, and I just found out it wasn't too important on it, but it's just something about me. I just write terribly, but we're going to get through this. Everything I'm going to talk about tonight, we have some sheets that you can come up after and get it, okay, on funding and the things that we've done. I'm going to talk about the different things we've done over the years to how we fund deals, things we were doing 10, 12 years ago, and things we were doing today, okay? Literally called a financial friend last night and said, hey, I have these 3 offers on these properties. They got $400,000, want to buy them. I want to pay like I want 95% on my money or 100%. They said we could do 90. I said, okay, great. And we're waiting to see if we have the deal before we go further on it. So we're going to be talking about things we just did doing today or last week. We closed on 2 deals last week. And we're going to be talking about things we did last year, okay? So we're going to be talking about things that we did in like 2009 you can still do today. First of all, who here is the first time at any real estate event? Besides me. Okay. Who's here, only been here a couple times and never done a deal? Okay, all right, okay. Just want to, who's done more than 10 deals? Jeremy's hands is not raised. Okay, all right, just want to get an idea. Who's done 5? Oh, there you go. All right, okay. The reason why I wanted to know a little bit who we're talking to. And the thing is it doesn't matter if you haven't done 1 deal yet or if you've done a dozen. Everything we're going to go over is valid today, and we're all doing it, okay? One of the things we're going to talk about later on the funding, though, let me back up for a second. Earlier, I was just talking to someone, and they were asking about, I was talking, and they said, well, how did you learn to do that with the notes? And I pointed to Andy, wherever Andy is, raise your hand. That guy right there is the one telling him how to write private notes, how to set up something for a buyer and sell it with like seller carry, and how notes work, and the percentages, and how to write them, and how to read them, and check your yield and see if it's a good investment, etc. And I find myself doing that every day. I recently bought a car. I pulled out the financial calculator that 2 years ago I was just learning how to use, and it was entering it, so oh yeah, it's a good deal. I'm willing to pay this much interest or no interest, depending upon which one we did. So before, I would just kind of, that sounds about right, okay? And wait for them to print out and tell me if that's right or not. I now knew it was right before they did anything else. So I took his class. So I gotta tell you, definitely, we did a lot of things wrong. We did real well with this class. I don't have a class. I don't do anything. This is what we do. We share it. We're passionate about. We're an active real estate investment group. I'm doing deals monthly. We have offers out today. We closed 2 deals last week. We're in the middle of another one trying to close right now. A wholesale deal. One's going to be a buy and hold. I think it'll be a short-term rental if Rich gets his way, and or it'll be a flip if I get my way. And we're just working on a couple of different things. So we are active. It's not something we once did. Usually when I talk about stuff, I'm talking about things that I've done. If I say, hey, I've never done that, I'm working a deal right now while we're waiting for someone, while we're waiting for some information from escrow and title. We kind of hit snag today in escrow. Just as we walked in, we got an email, and it's a problem with title. And they said, oh, you got to get a bond because you're buying it, and there's a $15,000 outstanding mortgage on it. Let's just call it that for the term. And they said, well, you can close if you buy a bond. So I told the other partner we're working with, just so you know, we're going to talk to title tomorrow, but FYI, I've never bought a bond before. Just hasn't come up. I've always closed with clear title. So if I don't know something, I'll tell you, or I'll point to Jeremy, I'll point to Andy or someone that I know that's done it, okay? Someone comes up and asks me about short-term rentals, I'm going to point to several people because I'm not that guy. I can help you buy it. I can help you talk to the seller. I can do all that. I can walk the property, look at the numbers, but whether it would be a good short-term rental, you might as well be asking me about doing appendix surgery on it. So just keep that in mind. While we were coming over here, my wife Angela was telling me about something that she just joined up on. It was this particular person that runs numbers and tracks trajectories, etc., of real estate with what's going on. And I wanted to share for a minute real quick with you. Right now in the area, there's 2,100 homes on the market, active listings. Okay? Right, 2,100? 2,100. Normally, there'd be 5,000 on a normal market. Okay? So there is 40% less, there's 40% of the normal amount of homes on there. And right now, we have twice as many buyers than a normal market. So it's creating all this pressure on them. So someone, we were just asking, hey, what's going on with these new rate increases? Well, with what I'll tell you is that yes, you're gonna have some people that were qualified for 450 yesterday are not qualified for 450 today. My wife today got a call from a friend who was gonna put it on, was gonna look at one for listings tomorrow when it goes live, and they called her to say, my buyer, when the rate just went up, now cannot qualify to purchase that house. So it did affect them. So if there is 20 buyers, say for every house, and you have an interest rate increase of a quarter point or half a point, etc., you are going to have somebody get knocked off and can't buy it. Now instead of buying $500,000 houses, they can only afford 450 or 420. So we'll have an effect. How much? We'll see. But right now, I just want to tell you that Riverside County, for the flippers, for example, and wholesalers, in Riverside County, the average days on market is 21 days. Okay? In San Bernardino County, it's 28 days. That's for the amount of days of being on the market that goes under contract. Anything under 90 days is considered a seller's market. So basically, we still have a white hot market. Okay? But I just want to caution everyone, Jeremy and I were having this discussion over the last few weeks, especially of like just being extra careful on some of the deals you're doing to make sure that the numbers work and they're solid. This is not the time to be, I'm going to do this deal, I'm going to do it, oh, and I know appreciation will go up and save my butt. First of all, that's always a bad idea, but especially bad right now. So the numbers either work or they don't do the deal. That's just my opinion. I'll tell you like I see it. So I wanted to talk about that. Okay, funding sources. We're going to go over a couple different things. I just wanted to let you know that we're going to be talking about mortgage brokers, traditional lenders, hard money lenders, private money lenders, loan officer versus a mortgage broker. Who knows the difference between a loan officer and a mortgage broker that's not in the business? So Ryan, you can't answer, and Chris, you can't answer. All right? The simple version, it really is simple version is a loan officer basically works for a financial institution like Chase Bank or a credit union. And they offer what that institution offers in the way of loans. And it might be 30-year fixed, 15-year fixed, or a 5-year ARM. They have a very limited number of options for you to go to. Whereas a mortgage broker is really brokering out and taking your information, for example, and then finding the lowest terms, the best rates for what you're looking for. They might have 30, 40, 50 lenders they work with. So they can kind of shop it a little bit more. Okay, so it's something that that a lot of people don't know. I actually looked it up just to make sure that I knew. It's like, specifically, what is the difference? And the reason why I bring this up is when we first got into real estate around 2009, we went to a mortgage broker. The reason why I went to a mortgage broker is, well, we bumped into them. Angela, I think, knew them. We bought a house from an agent that worked for one. So we went down to a mortgage broker and got a deal. We went ahead and got pre-qualified. We had a job. We bought a house for $60,000, single family residence, and we made this thing work with our 600 credit score or whatever we had back then, 620, and we had about $25,000. We put $15,000 down on a house, okay? So one of the things about it is that we used a very traditional mortgage broker, just like you would go down, except we didn't go down to Chase or Wells Fargo. We wanted to go to somewhere, a community place. We actually went to a place called Community Funding. And they treated us right and worked out for us. And so we're going to talk about those, because we've done that. Also, we're going to be talking about hard money lenders, difference between hard money and private money, kind of doing this now. And later, Chris, I'm sure will have some other things to say about it, but hard money lender versus a private money lender. Hard money lenders started getting a bad rap years ago because they were, you're hearing about 15% interest, 14% interest, and 4 or 5 points to do a deal. So, who has no idea what points are? Okay. Rich, you don't know? Okay. All right. A point is a percentage of the loan. So if you're borrowing $100,000, 1 point would be $1,000. And places, various companies and lenders will charge 1 point, 2 points, 4 points to do the loan. Okay? Some will do origination fees and will charge application fees on one. By the way, there's a lot of crooks in the business. Years ago, I went to a seminar, and a particular rehabber queen mentioned this hard money lender back east. So we called them up. Oh yeah, we heard that you guys are the ones to go to. And they're great. It's like a $500 application fee. You had to pay $500 just to talk to them. I paid it. I never did a loan with them. Never got my money back either. And they weren't a scam. It wasn't anything like that. That was the way they operated. And it was just crazy. You don't need to do that. They were very much of a hard money lender. I think it was going to be 6 points, and maybe your deal can work on that, but it's something that's not necessary. So basically, hard money lenders are short-term lenders, maybe anywhere from 6 months to a year. I know a lot of people will even do 3 months to 6 months. I always do a year. I'll just tell you now, I always do a year. I will not buy a house with funding less than a year. I won't do it. I know some of you have done it. You do 6-month loans. Heck, no. I want to allow for contingencies. I want to allow for backups. I just don't do it. That's my opinion again. I want to be extra conservative on that. It's bailed my butt out a few times where things took longer. We've had contractors move, die. I mean, it happens. And so you kind of get into some issues there. So whenever I borrow, I want to make sure that it's at least for a year if we're talking hard money or private money. And one of the things about it is there's hard money lenders in this room. Chris is a sponsor, for example, and definitely talk to him about it. He's a private money, hard money guy. He can get into more of the differences. Ryan's been a money lender as well. And so there might be others in the room. But the main thing is what you got is you got the traditional lenders, and they'll lend on a house that is mostly intact, in good condition, with a stove and running water and running electrical and a roof. Okay? We just did a deal. There was no roof on the house. Okay? Bank of America will not lend on that. Okay? If you think they do, you're in for a rude awakening. They don't lend on that. So understand that if you want to buy, fix, and flip, or buy, fix, and hold, you can buy something with write a check. Maybe you pay cash for the whole property. Maybe you're going to buy and use a hard money lender or private money lender, fix it, rehab it, and then go down to a more traditional lender and get a 30-year fixed loan at 5%, 5.5%, and it cash flows with your rental. Great. Then it's secured. No one can take it away. I don't do 5-year arms or 7-year arms. I won't buy with those. And something have to be really incredible for me to do that. I'm just not going to do it. I have done it, but I just don't do that. That's what happened. A lot of people in 08, they were in those things, they go up. That's just me again, the way I do those things. So, first of all, what I want you guys to remember is that traditional lending has a place when you want to go buy your house that you're going to live into. Don't go buy and try to buy a house with hard money to live in. First of all, most of them won't do owner-occupied. Okay, they're just not going to do it. Plus, that's a really poor way to do it. Come talk to us. There's options. If you're buying a house and you're going with a 30-year and you go traditional, I still recommend like a broker or one of the main people. I don't like going to Chase, Wells Fargo, etc. Unless you're like an 800 FICO score, the house is perfect, and you have nothing unusual in your background and loan, they kick it back all the time. For refi, yeah. But purchase, I even had a son of mine 28 days in on a 30-day escrow. They said, oh, sorry, we can't count that part-time job. Guess what? He lost the deal. Actually, he didn't lose the deal. He had to get new funding and still saved it. But Wells Fargo knew that on day one, but didn't tell him until 2 days before he's supposed to close. It happens. And my wife has told me as an agent other stories with it. So the big guys, the Chase, the Wells Fargo, we kind of stay away from this. Again, on the hard money lenders, if I just wanted to kind of talk about this for a second. If we were talking about points, a hard money lender, this is gives me just a second pen, so let's go with this pen. But a hard money lender, there we go. You might go ahead and pay anywhere from 10 to 15% interest. You might have anywhere from 2 to 6 points, and that might work for you. If you're doing a deal and they're going to give you money and they're going to give it to you with as much as you want, and they'll give you the rehab money to do it as well. Some lenders, many lenders, will give you 90% of the purchase price and say 90% of the rehab or 80% of the rehab. Chris can correct me on what they'll do. I've never borrowed rehab money. Not from lender. I just don't do it. That's just me again. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm considering it right now, but I don't do it. I always self-fund our own rehabs. It's just something that we got in the habit of. And the reason why is that my first private money lender, my financial friend, he hated managing those. So when he goes, Evan, I'll lend you more money on the purchase, but I won't lend you money on the rehab. He didn't want to do it. So I got in the habit because of my lender back then, and I still don't do it today. Nothing wrong with it. But again, so I don't have an experience with the fund control and releases. Again, talk to Chris. Chris, raise your hand. That's the guy I talked to about that. You want to borrow money? Yeah, definitely. Hold the questions for Q&A, but definitely want to talk about that. So on a hard money loan, but as I said, you want anywhere from 2 to 6 points, okay? And you're going to be anywhere from 10 to 15%. Now you'll have some people will say, well, hard money is too expensive, I can't do it. I met people that said, oh, I can't do it, I can't buy that deal, it's 12%, I can't do it, I gotta find cheaper money. It's like, well, how much you gonna make on the deal? $80,000. With the 12%? Yeah, I need 9%, I need it. So you can make $90,000, and you didn't do the deal? I've known a lot of people like that. So don't just look at cost of money, look at them as your partner. There are times, this is the way to go, that you might wanna do that. Your whole questions? Thanks. Write it down for the end, okay? So you're going to have that with a hard money lender. Now the thing is, you're going to have a private money lender, and this is where things can get blurred a little more. Hard money lenders, some will say they're private money, and others will say private money. Private money sounds nicer. Private money, it's a little softer. Is there a difference? Yes. You usually will pay more like anywhere from 1 to 3 points. I still heard of 4 points with a private money lender, okay? You'll hear that. Interest rates can be, I've seen as low as 6.9% on, say, a buy and hold with a private money lender, and I've seen up to 12%. That's just me seeing it. Someone might go, well, I've seen it, I get it. And these are the ones that I know that I work with, okay? All right? And so you want to have a hard money lender or private money lender in your pocket that you work with. Okay, Chris is a great resource. When we started, I didn't have the club. We had to figure this out. We went to one of the gurus on TV for a weekend for $1,500 and learned a lot. And we're like, great, now what do we do on how to get funding and on the individual deal? So understand that. So just understand that the other thing that we're going to talk about is on a private money lender or hard money lender, there's direct lenders and there's, again, brokers. And when I started out, I wanted a direct lender. Why? Because I thought that was better, or it sounded better to me. It's what I was looking for. I don't know why. But the point was, I was looking for a private money lender. So I searched Craigslist, I went to seminars, I was like asking people, literally, didn't know. We didn't have the club then. It's one of the advantages of guys having a club. It saves a lot of time, money, and stress. But one of the things is I found a money lender, a mortgage broker, that I won't name her name because I've never done business with her again, that I asked, are you a direct lender? Yes, I am. No, she wasn't. I don't know. You a direct lender? Yes. Nope, she wasn't. But what she did, so I ended up paying like 3 points or 4 points when I should have paid 2 or 3, okay? And it worked out because she introduced me to a private lender, a private money lender that I still use today. So I want to hug her and thank her and slap her at the same time. The reason why, because she lied to me. And then when I went to sign some documents, there were a lot of fees in the front that were not disclosed to me. That I was about to buy a property and I wasn't going to stop it. So I sucked it up talked to my friend Ben, who's now my best friend, and he says, well, you never have to work with her again, because our agreement is she finds me, we do one deal, after that, we have no other agreement. So I still use Ben today, and he's the guy I called last night. He's retired from the mortgage lending industry and still lends to a few select investors, and we're one of them. Because in 13 years, we've never missed a payment. Okay? Well, one got lost in the mail, and he knows that wasn't us. But other than that, we've never missed a payment. But anyway, so I want to just mention that about private money versus hard money. And the point is, private money, they're trying to act more like a financial friend, like calling your brother or calling someone you know, like, hey, you know what, less issues. And the one thing is this, is remember this, with a money lender, like a traditional bank, etc., they look at you. They look at Vincent. They want to see what money Vincent has, what his credit is, what assets he has. This goes back. They want to know that to see if he's going to be able to make the loan on that. Hard money and private money, the good ones, usually asset-based. Does the property support itself? Well, the property, does it make sense? Is there enough equity in that deal to protect them? They don't care about you. Are you fogging the mirror? They're good, as long as this is good and it's right. Am I right, Chris? Yeah. So it's really not about you, it's about this deal. Now, they will charge more if you have no experience or less experience. The risk is higher. Okay? That's why when I ask for 90 or 100% of the money, a lot of times we'll get it. But my first deal with a hard money lender, I had to pay. I was paying about 40% down. That's what we did, 40% down back in the day. I was new, didn't know any better. I paid it, worked out, but now they say people lend at 95 or 100%. Okay? So one of the things I talk about when we're going with that is the other sources of money are sellers, right? With a seller, you can have them carry the note. You can literally say, hey, Vincent, I'd love to buy your house, but my money's tied up somewhere else. What would you think about carrying some paper? You can literally ask someone like that. I had a seller last year say, hey, we'd like to carry paper, and they told me. All right, I was already asking or gonna ask because we had it written down, but their CPA told them to do that. Because putting it in the bank at 4% made a lot more sense than putting it in the stock market when they're 75, 80 years old and they don't want to risk their money anymore. So they gave us a note at 7% amortized at 30 years. So basically it's like a 30-year loan. We pay $599 a month. I gave them 25 grand down, and we pay $600 for a cabin in the mountains that we were going to rent, but my wife adopted, and now it's her second home. So, but that's kind of how that would work. The point is, sellers are a great place for money, are a great place to do that. You can also assume a loan, or something they call subject to. I recently did this in Apple Valley, we'll talk more about it, is where I had a seller that had a large balance with a traditional lender, and they hadn't made a payment in 2 years, and they were going to lose the place. Well, we gave them about $35,000, took over the payment, subject to their existing loan, and we started making the payment. We got power of attorney, we got third-party authorization, and we make that payment, and then we later rented that out to somebody, okay? And so the seller in that case, they just wanted their equity, and we gave them $35,000, and they left, and we have that loan for 10 years. I have 10 years to pay that off, okay? So, those things. Also, other places for money, as you know, are partners. I start out with partners. Other thing with money is IRAs. A lot of people have IRAs to do that. Financial friends, I'll call them as well. Those are people that you might work with, you literally might work with, it might be a family member. And these are people that you can go to, and if you find that there's a lot of people out there sitting on cash and want to do something with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about one of our deals I mentioned earlier. It was our first single family residence that we bought in San Bernardino. And this one, literally, I went in and it was $60,000, all right? And for 60 grand, and we had to put 20% down, which was a whopping 15 grand. Prices. $15,000 down we put. So $60,000 purchase, right? 15 grand down. Got a loan, community funding, at, I don't know, 5.5%. That payment on that was like $400 a month. Who wants to buy a house for $400 a month? The banks were giving them away, literally giving them away. You know, and we had just enough to buy that house. and I painted it. I actually dragged 2 of my other kids there and said, can you tape off the baseboard so I can paint? I drove 50 miles from after work out there, did the job, rehabbed it, and then just rented it out. We rented that, it was a $400 payment, but we rented it for $1,000 a month with a $400 payment. So, yeah, cash flowed. But guess what happened as soon as we did that? We had no money. We pretty much spent most of our money. We didn't have a lot of money then. We really didn't. Just, working at a job. So, but we did this, got this going, and that really worked out. 6 months later, we went to buy another house. We had almost the exact same numbers, but it was a 2-unit for $65,000. We put about $15,000 down. With a mortgage broker, used our jobs. They didn't look at the house, they looked at us. 620's credit score, whatever it was, put the money down, and the rent though on that was almost $2,000 a month because it was 2 units. My payment was still only like $450 a month. Guess what? We went into escrow and we realized we do not have the $15,000. We had like 7. So one source of funds is something, a non-performing asset, something you own that is just sitting there, you didn't know. In my case, it was a motorcycle. I had a nice motorcycle we bought a few years before, economy crashed. I couldn't even sell it for $6,000. But I found a credit union would lend me $10,000 on it. Went down to credit union, borrowed $10,000, the 10 plus the 7, we had this, and I think we had a few pennies, we cashed out, and we bought this property. I still have this property today, by the way. I still do that, and I had a payment, because this thing, for $2,000 a month and a $500 payment, a cash flow of about $1,500. I could afford a $200 motorcycle payment for 4 years. So 4 years later, bike's gone, and it's paid off, still have the property, and we pulled out hundreds of thousands of dollars in this house. It actually just went empty the other day, and my tenant, 10 years, trashed it. But she was paying $1,400, and I'm going to rent it for $2,500 now that she's out. When I'm done rehabbing it, put a lot of money into it. The point is, there's a place, even in today, even then, to use a traditional lender. I believe a couple people doing doing short-term rentals. You might go ahead and use your job, use your expense, use your credit, and go buy a place that's already done, theme it out, and do a short-term rental, create a short-term rental business. I don't do that. I know other people. I know Rich is doing that. I know Stephanie, Robert back there are rocking that. That's what they're doing. And you don't have to buy a beat-up house. You can buy a beautiful home, use the banks, use the 4%, 5% money, or 6%, whichever it is today at the moment. And if the cash flows with what your plan is, you can do it, then there's nothing wrong with that. Sorry, Andy. There isn't anything wrong to use that cheap money, if you can, all right? So just keep that in mind. So there is a place for that. When you buy your personal house, use the banks. You don't want to pay 10%, but you can pay 5%, right? As you can see, anyone can do this. The other thing is you can use, so for funding your deals, funding your houses, you got to understand something that literally we were doing this on a wing and a prayer. You saw I had to leverage my motorcycle to do that. So if you have a lot, you have a boat, you have something, you're tight on money, you can do it. We actually watched, I think it was Mel, had an RV, I think he traded his RV for some lot or property in Tennessee. Kentucky. All right. Most of the story's right. Sorry, the state throws up the whole story. And then leverage that to get into some other mobile home deal in like Florida. Okay, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Using something you have, you're not even thinking of, to leverage something else. That's a way to do a deal. A lot of you don't think about, but you can do it. Okay? So keep that in mind. And that's something. So remember, we were really on like I said, I went on a prayer. We didn't have a lot of money at the time. But what happened, I told you about that seminar I went to. What we had is that you can fund your deals, like with IRAs, we talked about with IRA. Anyone, who doesn't know that? You can use retirement money to fund deals, okay? If you have it or you have a friend. So what happened to us is that we bought a house, then bought another house, and we're out of money. Great, we want to be real estate investors. What do? Went to a seminar, learned something. I had a friend of mine that I worked with, and I rode motorcycles with, saw that we were buying rentals. We had like 3 at the time. There was another one we already had. I don't want to talk about. But the point is that he saw, he goes, I'd love to do what you do, but I don't have any money. Came back from the seminar, and now I knew all about this IRA thing, and I said, hey, there might be a way. We sat down and talked, and his IRA, he funded, this friend of mine, took his IRA money, turned it into a self-directed IRA, and then used it as startup to put money in the bank. We created a limited partnership. Okay, limited partnership. I have zero money in the deal. We've been running that business for 13 years, and I never put $1 of my own money into the deal. Okay, but we did it because we leveraged a friend who wanted to get in on it. Okay, so he gets double-digit returns every year. Okay, and we get control of the business because we're the general partner. So we buy, fix and flip, buy, fix and rent, wholesale deals, everything we do that we're still doing today, we're doing with this partnership that we never put a dime in. Again, so did I have any money in it? No. I knew somebody that I worked with at a printing company. Wasn't Wall Street, wasn't a bank, just a guy working that had some money sitting. He was tired of the stock market doing this. Right? Was that hard? No, he came to me. So this is one of the things about being a self-promoter. When you're out there and you're saying, when I ask, in this case, if I ask Ulysses, what do you do for a living? And you say, you're a loan officer, great. You ask me what I do, I'm a real estate investor. If you're working at a job right now and you're in sales, someone asks you what you do, you're a real estate investor. You're just temporarily in sales. One day you'll get out of that JOB thing. You know, the just up or broke keeps you that way. Point is you will, it's about a mindset and then promoting yourself wherever you're at. And then at the same time as you do that, you're talking to people, you'll find that there are a lot of people that want to do what you want to do, that want to do what you do. And they'll say, man, I wish I could get into that. And you say, you can. Start talking to them. You might find that they're sitting on quite a bit of money. Okay? The reason why I bring that up is what we did with this company is we found a 5-unit. The reason why I'm going to talk about in this deal, we found a 5-unit in Victorville. Talked about this before. I offered like $150 for the place, and the guy called me 2 weeks later and goes, I need $108,000, I need it in 2 weeks. Okay, $108,000. I needed $40,000, and I need it in 2 weeks, and I had $2,000 to my name. What'd I do? This is what you can do. I called someone named Patty that I work with and someone named Trav and said, hey, you remember, you guys want to do what I do? Yeah? I need $40,000 so we can buy this 5-unit. You want a partner? So Patty, a good friend of ours, she put up $15,000. My friend Travis put up $15,000. These guys working, making $12 an hour. I think Travis borrowed it from his mom. Seriously. And my mom, her mom, not that. His mom is an investor with us on mobile home Lonnie deal notes that Andy taught me to this day. So anyway, we were still short. Well, Patty had a boyfriend, and he had $15K. So they gave us $45,000, and they got half the deal. So for 2 years, I managed it for $220 a month, and we split the profits for 2 years. 2 years later, we sold it, and we made like $37,000. They made $37,000. So let's see, about a month, 2 months later, we paid off that first $15,000. Company had some money and had it. We were just tight at the time. So for the $30,000, they got almost $40,000 back 2 years later, and they got 2 years of cash flow. Okay? And they still invest with us today. These are people I've worked with. So some people go, I'm scared to ask for money, etc. The key, though, is the private money lender, that someone, his name's Ben, by the way, we walked this place. It was renting, the total rents monthly was $1,600. That's all they were bringing in. $1,600. Totally mismatched. We got it up to $3,000, and I don't want to think about what it's worth today because we sold that for $200,000, $205,000, like $250,000 a couple years later. But I'm walking this property with Ben, this 5-unit, and I'm looking at it, and I said, well, what do you think? Because he's my lender, he's my guy, he's everything on this, he's going to do it. I said, I'm going to buy this. And at the time, we'd done I think we'd done 3 deals by this time. He goes, Evan, I see the property, yeah, it works. I don't know so much about it. I can see it'll work. I normally do single family, but I know you haven't missed a payment in a year. we'll do the deal. Thank you. So we did the deal. How did I find this deal? We'll talk about that real quick. The first 2 houses in San Bernardino I found on the MLS. 2009, they were everywhere. They were like, realtors were calling you, throwing them at you. But not too many of us had money. This, I owned a 3-unit across the street. So when we say know your neighborhood, walk the neighborhood, walk your dog, like Richard's talked about, or ride your bicycle, go take a walk, I knew because I was getting to know my neighborhood, and I saw a 5-unit across the street. Plus, it was so mismanaged, the pit bulls across the street kept chasing me and my tenants into the apartments when I'd go over there. So I was very involved and got to know the owner of that place. And then I wanted to buy it to get rid of the dogs. But the point is they lent us $68,000, okay? $68,000, sorry for my writing, but on a $108,000 deal, and we had to come up with a $40,000, okay? And we did it by working with a private money lender and then talking to some friends that became financial friends that are still good friends with us today, okay? Again, not some distant person back east, not some rich millionaire, but they had some money sitting there and they didn't know what to do with it. And we still invest together today, okay? So I'm sharing that, and it had to get the deal by knowing our neighborhood. So get out, walk your dog, go buy a dog, borrow a dog, don't let attack anybody else. But do that, bicycle your neighborhood or whatever area you're working in. I know Andy works in an area of like 1,700 homes, and that's his area. We work anywhere from Barstow down to Temecula, along the I-15, 215 corridor, the mountains, all the way out to Lucerne Valley, anything in there. And anytime we buy a property, we start to get to know that area. So when we own 1, we start soon to own 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, okay, in that area. And we'll start developing that way more organically on that. The other thing I want to talk about is where money comes, how you can fund a deal. As I had another situation where I had a guy I rode motorcycles with. I'm going to ride bike. Rode motorcycles with. You'll see it's a common theme of my life. And what happens is I was at a Christmas party and I said, yeah, I'm doing this stuff. And he's like, yeah, I used to work for this big flipper. I'm a real estate agent. Yeah, I'd like to do something, partner with you. I'm like, great. I'm going to partner and create another company. So what we did is exactly what we did, but I had no money. Remember that single family home that we bought for $60,000? Well, I went to another financial friend, it was a relative, and said, you got 30 grand? And they lent us 30 grand. And put in a second on this property at I don't know what interest rate, I don't remember. And I used that to create another company, a general partnership. A general partnership to this day I still run, it's been 13 years, and we still do 6 figures out of it, all from the original amount of money that I got from pulling a small second from a family member who wanted the security of a note and wanted $300 a month. And we did that for years, okay? We did that. This note's been paid off. We still have that house. So I have no money in that business either. And we still do things today with it. So again, it's not about how am I gonna get money, I gotta think about this. It's look around you, okay? It's in this room. It's in Chris in the back, or Ryan, or Andy has a bunch of ways that he can talk to you about, but they're there, and using private money lenders, financial friends. The gentleman I was telling about, Ben, who lent me on the other deal, the 5-unit, when he retired, like I said, he's like, hey, I'm still going to keep lending to you and a couple of people, would you do it? So I can literally call him and say, hey, I need $400,000, what do you got? He goes, that may tap me out, but so-and-so, the Thompsons, they'll lend because they lent on your money before, on your properties, okay? By developing financial friends. I think Pete Fortunato calls them financial allies. Financial friends, financial allies, that's I think where I got that from. And so understand that you have a lot of options on that. Like I said, non-performing notes or performing assets. We did a deal recently where we ran out of money because we have so much reserves. We're doing about 4 flips at the time, and I wanted to buy something else. So what happened? What do we have that we can raise money on? We had a mobile home note. Okay, a mobile home note pays 9%. Well, Andy will buy half that note at face value. If it's an $80,000 note, he and his friends will give you $40,000 for the first 5 years of a note. So let's say it's a 10-year note. First 5 years, you can sell that note. Guess what? Now I got $40,000. Now I can go take care of what I want, keep my reserves. Okay, I can keep the reserves that I want in the company, or I want to go buy something else and don't want that account to go down a certain number, because I'm very conservative. We don't want to do that. My wife gets nervous if it goes below a certain number. I'm like, honey, it needs to be turn the money, not sitting there. But so you can actually take something that is performing, that you're getting $600 a month maybe, every month, and you're going to get it for 10 years. You go sell 5 years of those payments. It's something that Andy teaches. Someone I was with Brad at lunch today, and his partner goes, where'd you learn that? I said, Andy's class. Took it 3 times. And so it's something there that really, yeah, you have to take it 3 times just to understand it. But the thing is, it's so revolutionary for me, what we learned, to now there's a way to raise money. Right now, I'm doing a deal that's going to be, we're going to do a mobile home deal that's going to be $125,000 note, and I'm now trying to buy 3 stick-built houses, and I'm like, I might want 60 grand. I might sell the note instead of keeping this note for 10 years. I might sell half the note so I can go buy 3 stick-built rentals, because I'd rather have those than the note. Okay, so these are things that we can do. So understand that even if you have something that's a performing note that you can sell, that's an option. Okay, and if you're going, well, I kind of understand you or not, but understand that if you have something that someone's paying you, a debt, you can sell that. And again, you can take Andy's class and it'll make more sense. Okay? There's something there. So the other thing is, like I said, a HELOC. Yeah, you can do a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit. I'm not going to say you should take a HELOC to go start flipping houses. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying it's an option. I know some people that do it very well. They do 2 or 3 deals a year. They take the equity out of their house. They flip, they do the work themselves, they sell it, and they do well. Great. You might want to do it just to handle some of the cash flow inconsistencies you might have. You might want to do that, but it's something you can do. Credit cards. I've never bought a house with a credit card, but I have funded a big part of the flip on a credit card. Home Depot, they have them put the flooring in, they have them do this. It's expensive as heck. I started that way. I don't do that anymore, but to get started, it worked out. I still have it. So, family or wholesale. Okay, family members, I kind of talked about that, financial friends. Or you can have a deal, literally have a deal. There's this one in that we just did. Found a house, picked it up for $295,000, a single family home. And I was busy, and I didn't have $300,000. I didn't have 50 grand, and then the other, say 50 for the rehab, or 30, and we were busy, and we're down crews. It's mostly about the crews, now I think about it. We're short on people to rehab. And I called one of our friends who's in this room and said, hey, you want to buy this house? It's up over here in this town, etc. And he gave me like $365 for that house. Because it's in a great neighborhood, it's going to be awesome for a rental, and it's only going to go up in value. And it was worth like $470 or something like that. So we got like, by the time it was done, I think we walked away with $60,000, because I had to pay the bird doggers like $5,000 or people that found it. And how did I find that deal? With a bird dogger. Someone in the neighborhood that I've worked with that have found deals for me, because she lives in the neighborhood and she just keeps her ears out. She called, hey Evan, I know somebody. And that person knew somebody, and they told me about this owner that was in trouble. They had someone in there not paying rent, family members. So one option to funding is if you can't do the deal, or you're busy and you don't want to deal with it, or you're going to take off on a trip, you can call someone like me, Rich, Chris, Jeremy, there's a couple of you guys who call, Jim. You can call and say, hey, I've got this deal, I don't know what to do with it, I'm too busy, etc., and give up some of the deal, okay? And you can do that, and that's one way to fund a deal. The another thing you can do is go to them and say, hey, I need to double close this. I need to buy it on a Monday, and I'll sell it to you on a Tuesday. Will you lend me the money for the original purchase? And sometimes they'll do that. I've had that happen too. I had a private money lender lent us the money to do it that way. They lent our buyer to do it the way the whole thing worked out. So they did 2 escrows, and it worked out pretty well. And so that's something else. Your end buyer can do it. There's a lot of rules on that, though. You have to be very careful, but there's a way to do it legally, and that's something that you can do. So again, on these funding sources, there's a lot of different things you can do, a lot of ways to do it. And I just wanted to share one other thing. We did this other deal in Victorville, found it on the MLS. I called my financial friend, Ben. Hey, Ben, I need $200,000. I'm buying this house with these two houses for $225, $220. He says, yeah, no problem. I'll get it to you. So we did the deal, got it done. And because that was on the MLS, we actually knew the agent and had done other deals a couple years before. So I knew her. Because we did this deal, and I won't go into all of it, but it turned out to be not a great deal on the purchase price. I should have paid a little less, but I did it because it's good cash flow. Well, as soon as we closed that deal, she comes to me a couple weeks later and says, hey, Evan, I've got this pocket listing. I have this family that's going through this probate. They just finished, and they just want to sell this house. Do you want to come look at it? Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. Walk in, and she's like, yeah, they want $250 for this house. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I can do 50. Going, holy hell, this thing's worth almost $4. But it's a complete, they just had stuff everywhere. We're having a hauled away on Friday or Saturday. Everything inside that we haven't given away. Some of you came and took furniture from this house. And so what happened is, because we did the one deal and found it on MLS, I happened to know the agent, so now we were on her mind. She went ahead and called us, and we went and bought another deal. And she since brought us 2 other deals that didn't work out. But remember, stay on top of people, on agents, etc. by calling, letting them know. Remember, what you do, don't let them forget about you. Stay there on their mind, so and keep reaching out to them, because you don't know when they're going to get the next deal. You want them to call you first, okay? So I share the one about on the MLS, then I go ahead and get one through a pocket listing. And what happened there, I called my other financial friend, Gary, who we met riding motorcycles again, told us the same thing, who's now my #1 investor. And I called and said, hey, Gary, we need $225,000, and I know you have $227,000 because we just paid you off. He's like, funny, that's true. Yeah, you did. So we borrowed $225,000 and put $25,000, bought this deal. Okay? Again, financial friends. And so there's a time and a place for things. And one of the things I want to say is, I don't go and ask this way with your financial friends that you already do business with. Yeah, I could say, Jorge, I need $200,000. It's great. If I'm trying to raise money, okay, there's all these other rules, etc. But if you have a pre-existing relationship, I might say, hey, Brittany, I know you know a lot of people. I pay between 10 and 12%, or 8 to 12%. I work with a lot of investors. Last year, we paid out $200,000 to our investors. I'm always looking for some. So if you know anyone that's sitting on some money, will you let me know? You know, I'll buy you dinner or something. I'll give you a referral or whatever. The point is, you're asking. I'm not asking her, do you have money to give me? I asked, do you know anybody? Okay? There's a book, Copy Your Way to Success by Corey Peterson, and he talks about developing that. Hey, I know you play a lot of golf. I know you're on the golf course with a lot of doctors, and they're sitting on a lot of money sometimes. Well, I work with a lot of investors. I pay between this to this. If you know anyone with money, would you give them my name and number? Absolutely. The next day, the guy calls and goes, hey, I've got some money. See? And if they say, well, I don't have any money, well, no, I don't mean you. I just know that you're surrounded by doctors. Maybe you're a nurse. Okay? All right? How many people have asked their dentist or doctor and told them what you do about you if they know anyone with money? I've done it. Andy's done it. As they're about to drill. Wait, before you start, I gotta ask. I actually chased down my Kaiser doctor and thanked him for fixing something years ago and said, hey, by the way, here's my card, and I told him what I did. Never heard back, but that's all. Kind of a one-way relationship. You know, so anyway, that's it for most of what I'm talking about right now. I just wanted to share some of those things that we were doing. And the last thing is more of a joke. Yeah, you can go to bet on black in Vegas. Don't do that. It's not a way to fund real estate deals. Don't go to Vegas to do it. Seriously, I know someone that tried that. Wish it was a joke, but it's not. And it wasn't me. But the point is that there's funding all around us. You'll find there's more money than you can even possibly dream, just like there's more deals that you can possibly imagine out there. It doesn't matter. That's why a lot of this giveaway information, you guys are in the right place at the right time. And what I'm going to do, and by that is with the club, because we didn't have this. You understand? We were like being out in Serengeti, and it was just crazy back then. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up Chris Bedgood. He's a sponsor of the club. It's from Trillion Capital. He's going to come up and talk a little bit about what he does, what he's funding deals for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so, and then I'm gonna bring Andy up, and then we're gonna do a Q&A after. So you guys can ask us questions. If anything, there'll be 3 of us answering questions. Rich, where's the other mic? How come I can't? I'm blinded right now. Where's the other mic? In your back pocket. He's bringing it up. Well, here, Chris. I'll get down. So here's Chris Bedgood.
All right. How's everybody? Thank you. Wow. Maybe. I might have been on a TV show that nobody saw. That's okay. You can still see it. It's on Amazon Prime Video.
I've seen it. Great show.
Flipping San Diego. If you want to see how to flip houses, it's a real show. Those are real houses. So Evan doesn't know this, but I've ridden motorcycles for many, many years, but I just started riding with Evan just so I could meet all of his investors.
I'm in trouble.
He doesn't know that. He knows that now. Also, my humor does not get any better. So, he said I only have like 10 or 15 minutes. I could speak for hours, and I have spoken for hours in front of a lot of people. But what you can do is you can go to Amazon. I wrote a book because I just can't get everything out in 15 minutes. And if you can't afford $15, you just need to leave now. I wrote this in 2015. Think of the years that I have after 2015. There's a lot of knowledge. So veteran flipper, go to Amazon and type in Chris Bedgood. You'll find it. And I'm going to give this away at the end.
Yeah.
Okay?
We're going to do a Q&A after, so you can ask Chris, Andy, and I any questions you have.
Actually, I can't put this down. Okay, so what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do is, instead of trying to come up with a whole bunch of things on just wasting everybody's time, I'm going to read a couple of excerpts from my book that are important. So I saw a bunch of you in the room were new. How many of you are new? How many of you have done 1 or 2 deals? You're not new. Put your hand down. I see you. You're pretty new? Okay. How many of you are making offers right now? Making offers. Everybody should have their hand up. Everybody. Even Mr. State Farm, my new buddy. Everybody should be making offers. Farmers. That was a joke. I was testing Rich. Farmers is my new buddy. Sorry. I'm so sorry. So everybody should be making offers. I'm going to give you a little bit of motivation I wrote. It's called a Bedgoodism. It's in my book. Andy, pay attention. Because Andy does not need this. I want to read this to you. Don't be afraid to fail forward. Okay? Don't be afraid to fail forward. It's a Bedgoodism. Taking 5 steps back and 1 step forward is not a bad thing. It's just another thing to keep you moving. If you keep pressing ahead and focusing on your goals, before you know it, there will be a shift to 5 steps forward and 1 step backward. It's an amazing feeling once this happens. Failing is normal and part of the deal, right? How many of you have failed, kept going, and it just turned into gold, right? I am a huge failure. Yes, sir. I'm a huge failure. How many of you can answer this? Failure plus persistence equals success. That wasn't Andy, was it? He's fired. That is not a new one. I did not write that. It's been around a long time. Okay, let's get into hard money and money. I'm not here to talk about Trillion Capital, even though Trillion Capital is an amazing company that I borrow money from and borrowed money from. They asked me to come along and be a VP for them because I was semi-retired and I know the owner and I love working with investors, okay? But how I started out was joint venturing, okay? So let's get into the topic. Joint venturing it can be many different things, but it's really where you find a deal or you have the money and you partner with the other person. Everybody can probably kind of gather that, right? Well, the way I started out was with no money. I had no money. Out of the Navy, you know, working on airplanes. I'm a former licensed airplane mechanic, jet mechanic. I used to work for multi gazillionaires who owned their own Gulfstreams, and I was their private jet mechanic. Yes, sir, that's me. I can tell you the story. It's in the book. I had my boss with his Gulfstream. They showed up at the plane one time, and they were loading in their skis and all this stuff, and they were flying out to Tahiti to meet the yacht. And I just started asking, what do these guys do? How did they get started? I knew they were in real estate. Ding, ding. I knew they were, but I didn't realize how they got started. Well, they were major real estate developers whose grandfather had started out doing what? What do you think he started out doing? Flipping houses. They became major real estate developers, subdivisions, you know, 100, 500 houses, and they're flying around on Gulfstreams, okay? So, let's get back to joint venturing. Are we doing good?
Yeah.
Okay. You have to stop me. Joint venturing, how I started out was, I was a bird dog. You mentioned bird dog earlier. Bird dog, what do you think that is? Bird dog, it's where you've got time, you've got energy, you're super motivated, but you have no money, you may be living penny to penny, but you've got time. You come to these clubs. These RIA clubs changed my life. Every time I went to a real estate club, from the moment I went, as a matter of fact, Chief, the guy that's on the TV show with me, I was a nobody. And I was dating a girl in San Diego, and she said, you gotta go see this guy. And I also talk about it here about how to network like a hero. When you network, you wanna meet that guy. So I made sure I went up and I met Chief. Hey Chief, I'm Chris. I'm working really hard. I'm an aircraft mechanic, but I want to become a real estate investor. As a matter of fact, I consider my a real estate investor, but I don't have any houses, I don't have any money. He said, well, go find me a deal. That's kind of what Evan said, right? Go find me a deal. And I said, what do you mean go find you a deal? I don't have any money. He said, no, go find me a deal, bring it to me, and I will show you how to make money. I said, well, do you need me to be a part of that? And he goes, you're going to be a part of it by bringing me the deal. It just wasn't sinking in. It wasn't sinking in. I was like, I can't. He said, no, I'm going to pay for it, and you're going to make money. Go find me a deal. So that's what I did. I instantly learned what bird dogging meant. Okay? I already had my real estate license, but you don't need it. You don't need your real estate license. I went out and I started meeting realtors, going to clubs, asking anybody, just figuring it out, and I finally met a realtor who started giving me off-market deals. She thought I was super wealthy, millionaire, crazy, good investor guy. I didn't tell her any different. I said, I'm making an offer. She said, you got money? I said, of course I got money. So she wrote my offer, got it accepted, went and talked to my buddy, went to the house, he paid for the house. Now here's where it gets groovy. You can be a bird dog and get paid a fee for that. They can give you grocery money or vacation Maui money, whatever they want to kind of throw you away. It's a little under the table when you pay someone for a real estate deal, but anyway, bird dogging is one step. Am I doing okay? Okay, I'm good. What I ended up doing with him was I said, look, because he was impressed. He was impressed. People were bringing him stuff that wasn't working. But he was answering my calls. You don't want to bring these wealthy guys deals that don't work because they stop answering your calls after a while. You want to make sure you learn what a deal is. Happens to be some of it in this book. And you know what is it? A deal versus a lead? Yep. Go ahead, Evan.
No, just the biggest thing to learn, 75% times ARV minus repair, plus the fee if you're going to be a bird dogger. But there's a guideline of a formula. that a lot of us use, or it could be 80%, it could be 65%. It's just a way to get your maximum allowable offer. And if you've done that, you know that there's a deal there, then send it to your end buyer.
You're going to go through a lot of leads. Everybody knows that. I'm trying to speak to everybody. A lot of you already know this, but you're going to go through a lot of leads to find a deal. Lead spelled backwards is deal. That was what I was trying to get to. Okay. So what I worked out with him on the first deal. Sorry. I'm supposed to be on YouTube. Hi. Later. What I worked out with him, and it's in here, it's good, is 20%. I get 20%, he gets 80%. And you guys are thinking, whoa, you brought the deal. Why didn't you ask for 50%, man? Why don't you just go for it? Because I knew my place. I knew my goals. My goal was to own a Gulfstream. Never did, but I'm working on it.
But you own a motorcycle.
Working on it. Well, after I'm infiltrating his group, so I'll get that soon. But I said, Chris, how do you get this guy to answer your phone and him make a ton of money, and then eventually you don't need him anymore? Does that make sense? My goal was to not need him anymore. It's called becoming valuable, and then what I call becoming invaluable. I became valuable to him by giving him 80%. I took 20. I kept bringing him deals. On the fourth deal, I asked for 50%. Do you think he gave it to me? Yes. He did. Guess why? Because I had become invaluable. He knew that I would just take that deal to somebody else. So he said, of course.
Worked his way up to, like you said, I
worked my way up.
Yeah.
So that's joint venturing in a nutshell. I'm still not on YouTube. Well, because he's in my way. Look at it. He's like standing in the whole camera.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, because even though I didn't use that term, as you can see, that my companies that we flip and buy and everything we've done are partnerships, and they're just long term versus doing a joint venture. But in this case, they're really the same thing. And we did a joint venture on that 5 unit with all the people involved. There's ways to do it. Those who've been in this room, we played cash flow, and I said I did a deal just like some of those, and we got into it, and some people go, well, you're giving up 37% versus 40%. Screw that. It worked for them, it worked for us. They got half the deal, I had no money in the deal. It worked for everybody, okay? If it's a good deal, it's a good deal. That's kind of one of the things now. So there's just a lot of opportunity, a lot of deals around, a lot of money around, a lot of ways to ask. And I'll tell you that if you get a chance to, we got to know each other real well. This guy's an awesome guy, pick his brain a lot. We started talking real estate. We're out in like Death Valley talking, sitting around a campsite talking with a bunch of motorcycle riders. And we started doing it. And a couple of the guys we were with are investors. So they were okay. A couple of the non-investors were going, you know, where do we go? They were kind of getting away, but I'm telling you, you get a chance to pick his brain. This guy knows a lot of stuff. At the same time, on funding or anything like Trillion Capital, I know he's helped several in the room. Definitely give him a call. And I tell you, something that I look up to. I highly respect and highly admire this gentleman, and he's learning how to ride dirt again amazingly fast. It's been great. So
I'm a Harley guy, and he got me back on the dirt, so I'm happy about that. I will close with what Trillion Capital offers and why I love this company is we don't ask for your credit scores, okay? We don't charge you any kind of fee. I'm going to pick up the phone, I'm going to give you a solid answer as to whether we can do the deal or not, and we're more apt to do it than not. I can just say that. Our points are 1.5 to 2 points.
Very reasonable.
Where our interest rates are 8.5 to 9. So he had like 10 to 15 up there.
For hard money. For private money, I had 6.9.
Yeah. For hard money, hard means the hard asset. It really is the easiest money usually that you can get, because private money lenders run out of money sometimes. They're your buddies, they're your doctors. they're in a bad mood or they decide not to lend you at the 11th hour, like Evan was alluding to, hard money lenders don't do that, or they shouldn't. They should be there funding your loan once they say yes. We don't even do appraisals, guys. I do the comps, I fund it.
Okay.
Is that it? Can I go for another hour?
Yeah, no, we're going to do a Q&A after Andy's up. So,
All right.
Andy, Teasley, thank you. First of all, Chris Bedgood, everybody. And now we're bringing Andy Teasley up. I was telling you, he's a wizard of wealthy boxes. These guys taught me everything I know about notes and how to figure this out and how do you do this, and I don't know what to do. I call Andy. I take him to lunch, pick his brain, and he tells me again and again and again until I finally start to understand.
It's in the manual.
And it's in the manual, which I have reread. So definitely. So Andy, give us some thoughts.
I'm going to say a whole bunch of contrary things. Does that surprise anyone out there? But I have a prize today. I have this thin little book. It's kind of large.
Is it Invest in Debt? It's got to be. It's small.
It's orange covered, and it is the highest selling, best negotiating book on the market today. And if somebody can tell me what it is, at some point after when we get to the question and answers, you will get the book. Those are all the hints you get. It's thin, large, has an orange cover, and it is the best negotiating book.
How to win friends?
What's that?
How to win friends?
Part of the deal. We'll do it later. Okay, I'm going to start with a really fancy formula because I'm the formula guy, right? Am I off the screen and I need to go use the other board? Okay.
Yep, you're good.
Here's the fancy formula. 1/2. If you're going to be a buy and hold investor, you have to know second grade math. I don't care what interest rates you pay. Who here has ever borrowed money at 15%? There's one. 20? 25? 30?
I borrowed a car at 21% when I was like 19. Okay.
I bought a rental house at 25%. I'm talking financing houses, hard asset. 25%. No points. 125% of acquisition and rehab money. And I had to put up another little piece of dirt I had. Was that a good deal? The payment was less than 1/2 of the rent. I don't care what you pay for your money if it's less than half of what your house rents for, unless you're in an expensive golf course community. It's a good deal. You can buy a house that's only worth $100,000 and pay $1 million for it, and it's a good deal.
He told me that. That's how we bought that mountain cabin, because it'll rent for about $1,500, and I knew as long as I don't go above $750 and got it for $599, he's the one who was beating that in my brain.
Yeah. If you're a buy and hold investor, that's the big formula, 1/2. If you're a flipper, don't ask me anything. I know how to flip mobile homes, and I turn them into paper, and I sell them for twice what I have invested in them. So you turn the thing over if you're going to flip mobile homes. Now, where was I going to go next? I had something interesting to say.
The note, the $1 million.
Want to do the whole $1 million house? Okay, here's a quick story. Two guys are out on the golf course. One guy says he's the best. The whole course, he's bragging on what a great salesman he is. And his friend finally gets sick of it. You know, he's just talking about I can sell ice cubes to Eskimos. And his friend, the 19th hole, and his friend says, all right, smartass. Sorry, despite the French. You see that $400 bottle of scotch up there on the top shelf? Yeah, it's a nice bottle of scotch. All right, I bet you can't sell that little rental house you have there on Main Street, the one you're renting for about $1,000 a month, and sell it for $1 million. If you can, I'll buy that bottle of scotch for you. We'll share a drink, and you can have the rest of the bottle. And the guy says, oh, you're on. Easy. So what's he do? sucker friend Andy. And he says, Andy, you know that little rental house I have there on Main Street? I said, yeah, that's in your A-bag. What about it? Well, it's been rented for about $1,000 a month for the last 3 or 4 years. It's been good, consistent rental. But I got this great bet, and I'm going to let you have a sample of some very, very nice scotch. But you have to pay me $1 million for that house. $1 million? Just the purchase price is $1 million. Yeah, he says, you got to pay me $1 million. So I said, I'll do that. I'll pay you $500 a month for the next 2,000 months. That's $1 million for those of you that don't know how to multiply. Did he win his bet? Did I get a good deal? I paid 10 times what the house was worth according to the 1% rule. I was pretty happy with that deal because I know how to run a financial calculator, and we don't have time for that. But if you value your money at 8%, the value of 2,000 payments of $500 is only $75,000. So who here would be happy paying $75,000 for a house that rents for $1,000 a month? That knows the 1% rule. Who doesn't know the 1% rule? Really? Well, good. Say something. Ask. 1% rule is a rule of thumb that says your rent should be 1% of your purchase price. It's a silly rule. It's hard to accomplish in this current market, but that's what everybody says. That's the 1% rule.
And let me add to that real quick. And that doesn't mean if you buy a house for $300,000 that I will get $3,000 for rent for that. If the rental market in the area is $3,000, $3,500 a month, $4,000 a month, and you can buy it for $300, then it works. But doesn't automatically. Well, I paid $400,000. I should get $4,000 when the market in the area is $2,000. Just have to specify because some people get that confused.
Oh, right. You don't get to demand your rent. The market controls rent. Don't let the politicians know. They seem to think we just pick a number out of the air. Who here would like to own a house? A few more, if you already have one. What have you done to accomplish that goal this month? How many offers have you written?
3 today.
Every week, you should be writing offers.
Every day.
Every day. Fine, every day. Some of these people have one of those JOB things. You remember that. I mean, it's been a lot longer for me than for you. How many houses will you buy if you never make an offer? That's right. And if you don't,
Paper on the streets.
What's that?
Paper on the streets.
Paper. I like shoe leather on the door pad. My thought just comes and goes. By the way, I had a lousy flight, and I spent all of today doing an electrical project.
Yeah, by the way, he was in, were you Florida until like 10 o'clock last night.
Yeah.
So he's a little jet lagged. That's it.
Yeah, I'm a little off my
wanted to
mark.
be here.
Right. I love being here. I'm the notes are like Play-Doh guy, too. If you have a chance to agree to pay a note, if you're collecting rent, that's a note. There are a lot of things you can do that are ways to make your money work for you. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Doctors don't have any frickin' money. I've asked all my dentists, my doctor's friends, my wife's doctor friends. Doctors don't have any frickin' money. Everybody says, ask the doctor. You know who you ask? The plumber. Those guys make $200 an hour. And look what they wear. You think they spend a bunch of money going to Tahiti? Tradesmen are the ones that have money.
By the way, one of our tradesmen that works for us keeps buying houses with cash. So we know that we're paying him a little much, right?
Yeah.
Keeps doing it.
Cut his pay and see if he comes. My first investor from just talking to people was the guy that did the reglazing on houses I bought back in 2005. A little window guy, a little slob of a shop. Worked cheap because he worked for me. And he had money sitting in an IRA. And he was making 2%.
The IRA again.
2%. He was just tickled pink when I borrowed money from him at 7%. You think I was tickled pink? I was borrowing hard money back in those days for 12%. 12 and 4.
So is money scarce or is it everywhere?
Oh God, this market is deep in cash. If your job is to go out and make allies of people, find people that need what you offer, because there's two ways to get money. One is you can borrow it from a bank, which is another fancy way to say steal it from the government who's going to force us to pay it. The other way is to find somebody who needs some income, something you can provide. Someone with a retirement account who's not making a lot of money. Be a servant. Why does Ray Kroc have as much of this country in his title collection as that he does? Is it because he makes the tastiest burger on the planet? Hell no. You're not going to tell me anything's all that good at McDonald's. But he makes it cheap, and he makes it for lots and lots and lots of people. Be a servant, develop allies. Those are the two best things I can say. And now I would love to hear some guests on what the book is. Go ahead, just blurt it out. No? No? No. Getting TS, no. B-U-R. The Burr book, no. This is the nationwide best negotiation book published nationwide, and it was written by a doctor. What's the book?
Green eggs and ham.
Green eggs and ham.
Awesome, there you go.
If you want to know how to negotiate, think green eggs and ham. See, in the event that I can give you $500 a month until you go to heaven, and then to your kids after that, is there any reason you wouldn't sell me your house? In the event that I could relieve you from the overhead you have on that empty house, paying that electric bill, and to have the lawn mowed, and to put the roof back on when it blows off, in the event I could solve all those problems for you and not cost you another penny for the rest of your life, is there any reason you wouldn't sell me your house? Yes, no, I can't sell you my house because I have to have $10,000 down. In the event that I can get you that $10,000 down, can I pay you the rest with a $200 a month payment? Well, no, $200's not. If you could give me $10,000 down at $300 a month, though, I could do that. Look at the guy in Green Eggs and Ham. Would you, could you in a car? Would you, could you with a star? Would you, could you in a train? Would you, could you on a plane? And what happened? Finally, the guy tried Green Eggs and Ham and he loved it.
There was this investor that I was at one of the seminars years and years ago, and his favorite lines was, would you, could you, well, would you consider, or could you consider? And he did it. Now I'm thinking I didn't see the connection. But would you, could you?
By the way, I want somebody who hasn't heard this already 100 times. What did you notice about most of the questions I asked when I was doing that play negotiating with that fictitious seller? What was the answer I wanted? In the event that I could pay you $1,000 a month, is there any reason you wouldn't sell me your house? When someone is negotiating with you, what is the default answer? No. They want to say no. They were thinking, oh, this guy's one of those crazy real estate investors. How can I say no to him? I'm going to give him lots of opportunities to say no to me. I want him to say no. I think I've run out of coherent thoughts, so it's time for questions.
I just want to again say thank you, Andy. That's something again. Andy Teasley, everybody, is one of my mentors, mentor of love. And again, we're going to be around. We're doing up here, Rich. What are we going to do with questions? Yeah. Chris, you want to come back up?
Chris.
Anyone
By the
else?
way, I have a class coming up. It's the weekend after Mother's Day, and it's on Zoom, and you're certainly welcome to come. It's $4.99 or make me an offer.
I
I've
highly
got a flyer.
recommend the class.
Who's got a good question? I love good questions.
Well, anything about any of us talked about tonight first? Okay, let's go with Louis. Okay, here's a question for you.
I wanted to,
For me, okay.
you were talking about hard money,
Okay, about hard money.
and I wanted to know that if you were talking about was that interest only?
Are they hard money? Oh,
Was it interest only?
just ask a question so everyone hears it now.
You got to say it on the mic.
Say it on the mic.
Yeah, you're
Is it interest only?
Are the hard money loans interest only?
Yes.
Yes.
General.
Yeah, let's just go with, just say yes. They're almost always interest only, and if you can still cash flow and it works and everything, interest only works fine because you're going to buy fixed up. Like when we buy fix and rent or buy fix and flip, we're buying it at low enough price and going to create forced depreciation by putting money into. So we put $50,000, and we create $100,000 in value, and we know that before we even buy it.
Can you go 5 years on that, or 10 years, or just 1 year?
Yeah.
So interest only is because it's a short-term loan. Hard money is short-term. What does short-term mean? It usually means under 12 months, hopefully. Hopefully 3 months, right? 2 months, 1 month. But most people who borrow hard money from us to close fast, get it rehab, if they're going to hold it, they're shopping for refinance money that whole time, okay? Because they've added equity. Now they can go and refinance into a conventional loan that gives you a interest plus principal, so you're paying it off.
You really want to frustrate a hard money lender, send them a little principal every month.
Yeah, and one thing with that as well, I have interest only loans that are 5, 7 years out, 8 years out, that I like own mobile homes on land, and I pay $700 a month or $500 a month, I collect $1,500. I have those all day long.
That's not a hard money loan.
No, those are private money loans. They're not hard money. They're private. They're from financial friends. Again, someone that I might meet, Vincent, again, I might ride motorcycles with, etc. Okay? And those people like that, your financial friends.
I've got another question for you. I forgot your name, sorry. Your
Chris.
capital.
What?
Trillion capital, I know.
My name is Chris.
Chris.
Eat the mic.
I'm getting old. Chris, I'm looking for a hard money lender that does adjustable loans, just low rates.
Adjustable loans.
If there's such a thing.
That does adjustable. Why do you want a hard money loan that's
I know
adjustable?
somebody that's looking for.
Why? For what purpose? What's their goal? What are they trying to do?
That's good. I don't know. He just asked me to find out if they can
Okay.
find somebody. So I'm asking.
It's so short term. We don't do that. Short term. We're trying to help you get in and get out, and then you would go and shop for an adjustable loan. I don't think any hard money lenders. They might have a hard money. They might be a company who does hard money and conventional. We don't. We just do hard money.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm curious, how much lower do you expect interest rates to go? I mean, that's the only reason to get an adjustable rate is because you think they're going down. Some of us that have been playing this game for 30 years realize that we're so darn low right now, getting much lower, it's pretty much going to be where they're paying you to take the money. So I don't think adjustable makes a lot of sense.
One way you could do it, I don't say adjustable, but a variable on interest only, and it's because I'm talking to a possible investor now that reached out to me, is they want a certain percentage over the life of the loan, and I want to start lower. So it's like, how about 8% for the next 3 years, then 10% for the following 3 years, and 12% for the following 3 years. It averages 10% over, say, 10 years. And I get lower now, they get more later, and maybe I'll sell it, maybe I'll refinance out, but it's a deal, it's interest to them, they get what they want, I get what I want. So I could see that, but again, that's through a financial friend. I've never known of anyone doing an adjustment.
I'll get more information.
Yeah,
That financial friend's rich.
yeah, I get it.
Remember this like right here talking?
Yeah, in the top, yeah.
In your
We
top.
bought subject to an existing
Subject to.
loan versus assuming a loan.
Oh, right, okay.
When we do mobile home investing, as Annie teaches, our buyers assume the loan, they assume the note, but what I was talking about was the subject to. It looks similar. Okay.
Well, my confusion is, doesn't that trigger a due on sale clause? If he already has a home loan and I do a subject to, doesn't that mean his
Yeah.
owner's going to come and demand all the money?
First,
Okay, I want to address a boogeyman.
yep.
Due on sale clauses came about when the normal 30-year mortgage rate was 18% and the existing loans were 6 and 7, old VA and FHA loans. In those days, the due on sale clause made sense. In those days, there were real, genuine, honest lenders who actually expected their people to put money in a passbook so they could pay interest on it and then turn around and lend it at a bigger amount. So they actually cared about that note. And if they could get it paid off and put the money out at a higher interest rate, it mattered. 99% of our loans right now in this country are being written by pretender lenders. They don't have any money. There's some guy, a mortgage broker, who writes it and he owns it for about 10 minutes and it gets sold off to the government and he gets paid to service the loan and he doesn't care as long as he's getting paid to service the loan. So I think Peter Fortunato, who must know 500 investors at least, said he knows of 2 due on sale clauses that have been called in the last 20 years.
Yeah, when I did that, I talked to another investor friend of mine that's in the room that I highly respect, and I asked him, he's done like 75 or 80 subject to loans, and he had one that was called due or none, and so basically the lenders, they want to get paid. We're not, so that's where we go and we get power of attorney, and as far as a limited power of attorney for us when we buy it, and we got a third-party authorization. We did both, and we still went through escrow. The title changed. The loan is still in the name. We have the web portal. We pay every month, and goes through that. You'll see that. So even though they all have these loans have due on sale clauses, if you keep checking around, you'll find it's just they just want the money coming in. And is it a risk? Yeah. I could go get another loan on a property today because now that property's worth 500 and something. So,
Quick note on the VA loans, though, they are assumable.
What's that?
VA loans are assumable.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're doing a VA, it's every other mortgage that you take out will say that it's not assumable. It says it like right in your mortgage docs. VA loans are assumable because basically they're anticipating that somebody's gonna have to relocate, get new orders, whatever's gonna happen. They're basically
because they're
protecting the military. So
Do they have to be assumed by a veteran?
no, they can be assumed by anyone. So when you do a loan assumption on a VA loan, you don't have to worry about it. As far as I understand it.
actually, one of the millionaire makers in Vegas a couple of years ago, one of the gentlemen that was speaking also said the same thing. It was like, oh, that was interesting, but there had been a change, but still, yeah. Vincent.
By the way, Vincent, when you're done with that, you can donate it to the Club Library, which is a great resource if you're cheap.
Okay. All right, good. Going back to this subject to, so do you do a wraparound mortgage?
Who's this for?
For you.
For me, okay.
Yeah. Did you do a wraparound mortgage so that the interest of the party that allowed you to take over the payments, they're protected? Because I know sometimes they might want to buy another property, and the property that you're paying for is still on their credit.
Okay, yeah, basically, we did not do a wraparound or an all-inclusive trustee. No, we just bought it subject to, and we have it for 10 years. The seller was aware they're not going to be able to go out and use their VA loan for 10 years. And there's a caveat to that after I've been around checking with all sorts of other mentors, et cetera, on this, even in Vegas. With it is it some of the guys have had it where 3 years later they were ready to go buy. Because what we did is we saved the credit. They had a forbearance. They were a veteran. They didn't have a credit lien. There was no money. They relocated out of state. And what happens sometimes, say 3 years, they want to go buy a house. Well, they could call and ask, hey, I'd like to buy a house in my VA, could I? We have agreement, it's for 10, I would try to do something about it, but what they've had, and I've talked to some, like 7 people have done it, where once we were able to prove to the new lender that we had bought it, which we're on title, we've been making payments for the last 3 years and do it. They've actually taken it off the debt to income ratio for the seller who's now trying to buy a house and then purchase a house. All right, I've had people tell me they've had buyers that exact situation that has happened. So, but if not, for 10 years they can't use a VA. They might be able to have to mortgage shop, and then you might be able to go conventional with 5% down. But I just say, assume your VA is gone for 10 years. That was the agreement. And at the end of 10 years, they can call me and ask me to pay it off.
Sometimes sending a copy of your lease will actually get them released as well, and it'll deal with that debt to income ratio thing. Chris?
Yeah, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, on the hard money thing.
Sure.
It's not a hard money loan, he's asking me, he needs a lender with a good arm pricing.
Good arm? I ride motorcycles, man.
Yeah, good arm. You gotta be right.
A good arm? That's a
Good arm pricing.
that's adjustable rate mortgage. That's what an arm
Yeah,
is.
I understand. That she's looking for one. A better.
It's the same question, right?
Yeah, basically. So you're looking for
No, it's not a
traditional.
He wants a regular lender.
Yeah, you need a regular lender, a conventional.
Pointed out a good point. So,
Laura's not a sponsor anymore, but she was for many years. If you go look at Google Laura Lock, lockyourloan.com, she's a conventional, I'm sure she does ours.
But here's
he's a broker. He's a lending broker.
here's the problem with adjustables.
Better pricing loan.
Okay, here's the problem with adjustable rate mortgages right now. Dodd-Frank has almost completely eliminated them because they're not being used in residential loans right now because you can't. That would be a violation of Dodd-Frank, and the lender would get spanked.
Did not know that. Well, thank you, Brian.
Other questions?
And I just want to add, I am not a loan officer. It's kind of what he said earlier. I don't do loans on houses that are owner occupied. You're going to say, Chris, I want to buy this and move into it. I don't do that. We don't do that. So it is different.
Come back in again.
So
Yeah. That's a traditional lender.
traditional finance.
Okay, question for Chris. Hopefully not putting you too much on the spot. Basically, you're loaning at a negative interest rate, and if inflation is 15%, and you're loaning at like a 9.5%, how does that work?
Wait, run that past me one
Okay,
more time.
assume inflation is at 15%. It's the real number.
Assume inflation is up 15%.
Yeah, let's say that's the real number, not the BS 7.5%.
Okay.
And if you're loaning at 9.5%, isn't that a negative interest rate?
Isn't that a negative interest rate? I would say that there's probably a lot of answers in my mind where my answer's coming in. I can't wait to hear Andy's is who cares? Because it's kind of what Evan said earlier. If I'm going to make, why am I nitpicking the interest rate when I'm going to do a short-term loan? Because we're just doing short-term loans. I'm looking at the cash that I'm going to get. Maybe I'm looking at the ROI, the return on my cash. If I'm putting in $100 grand and I'm making 80, that's what, 80% return? So maybe I didn't answer him, I'm not sure.
Let me Andy answer that, and I want to add nothing.
Okay. So the answer is, in any time you're committing money, whether you're lending it or whether you're investing it, whether you're buying Bitcoin or gold or anything else, is opportunity cost. So yes, the real inflation rate using the Carter era pneumatics is 15 plus right now, in spite of the government saying it's 7. It's really 15. But if you can put your money to work at 9.9%, you say, okay, if I don't put it here, I could buy mutuals and make 3%. I could put it in a bank and make 0.0001%, or I could, do something different. So, real question: when you're going to put your money to work, whether you're a lender, whether you're an investor, whether you buy and sell money, whatever you your opportunity cost? Some people ask me where I come up with that 8% when I talk about the $1 million house, right? And the fact of the matter is that's opportunity cost. I value that income stream, the money that goes out at 8%. So.
Yeah, and one of the things about inflation, if this works in negotiation, because I've done it, when you're sitting with someone, how do you sold me your house 2 years ago or last year for $200,000, and you had invested that at even 8%, you'd have made $16,000. Ergo, you've lost $16,000 by still not selling that house that's empty, risking that it's going to be burned down. Because we just did a deal where a guy, his house got burned down, had no insurance. And he lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity. So we said, by you just sitting on this and not investing it, that you've actually lost $16,000 because they say at 8% a year. So right now, if you translate that to cash, if you have someone sitting on $100,000 and a real inflation rate of 15%, their purchasing power, they lose 15 grand every year it sits if they don't do something with it. So the rule is, as us investors, turn your money. Turn the money. Keep moving. I have an investor, one of our partners, ex-girlfriend, lent us a lot of money. We pay her X amount of dollars every year to her IRA, every year, whether I use it or I don't. And we constantly turn money because it's just like an inflationary thing. But people get comfortable. I want to sit on a lot of cash, sit in the bank, it makes me feel good, and you're just losing. You're just losing it. So turn the money. Be smart. Be conservative with it. But there's a lot of opportunities out there. And when he says opportunity costs, just remember this about interest rates. When he said short term, Rich and I did a deal a couple months ago in like French Valley, Ukaipa. We did a deal with one of my financial friends, and he wants a 4-month prepayment penalty. He wants 4 months interest, period. We owned it for a month. When we were going to do this deal, we bought it, we were going to flip it. Rich and I looked at it. Rich goes, you know what? Why don't we just sell it to so-and-so? We did. So we paid like $245, sold it for $270. Our lender walked away with about $9,000, and we walked away with like $7,000. But we owned it for a month, drove out a couple of times, made $7,000. He rents it for like $2,500. It worked out. We made $7,000. We would have made $12,000, but the money cost, we still made something. It made sense. Because we had other deals that we wanted to do that make more money. They were closer to us. They just worked better. So, okay.
And what's your name, sir? Ray. I know we've met on Zoom and stuff, but I think I answered your question completely wrong. I answered it from an investor's point of view, not from a lender's point of view. So I caught myself on that just now. So, 9% lending at 9.5% and inflation's 15%, they answered it for you. So.
Yeah, I have a question. So, I know I have a hard money loan right now with Trillion. They're amazing. Thank you, Chris, for all your help. A lot of us don't have the 20% to put down. I was fortunate enough, something else happened in my life where I had the 20% to put down. But where can you find someone either that will lend you 100% and I'll pay more interest or more points because I don't have a lot of cash reserves, and maybe even after this deal, all my money will be tied up in equity. So what then?
Well, you're going to refinance us out and pull some of that equity into your new loan, I would imagine.
Yes.
So you're going to pay yourself back.
I have other people to pay back.
Sure. So.
Come to exchange.
Yes, you're in the room, as you well know, because you're helping out with the club. This is the best place to be. It's network. So some hard money lenders won't allow you to take on a second. They want you to come in with your own 20% down. We don't. We allow you to go to your local club, find your buddy, your new buddy who rides motorcycles, and get a second from him and put a second note behind us. We're in first, they go into second. We allow. Yeah. Now you're going to have we have some borrowers who they borrow from Evan or whatever, and they go on the second, but they don't pay him any payments. Some of them do make payments. The payment will come maybe at the end when it's refinanced. There's so many creative ways to grab that 6 months. It's 3.6, it's just a number 3. It's really, it might only be $6,000, you know, but you made a ton of money. So I'm not sure that I'm answering, but so our easiest loans, so that I'm not rambling here, our easiest loans we can do almost all the time is 80% of purchase price and then 100% of your rehab if you're doing what Andy Teasley hates to do and will not do, which is flip a house. He will not do it.
Why would you sell a nice house?
I agree with him though. I have no dispute.
They could sell something to make up the money, couldn't they?
Like a non-performing asset or a
I
performing
was gonna
asset.
go around the circle, but yes.
They could sell something like an option.
An option or
I could put up all the cash you need for the 20% in your rehab, and you do all the sweating and do all the working, and then you give me half the profit. Hey, you know how good that looks in a Roth IRA? And it's inflation hedged.
Want to explain an option? I see some people.
It's a unilateral right to purchase. So she could sell something. I don't know any lender out there that won't let you sell something to raise the 20%. So I could buy the right from Farah to buy half of that house, subject to the underlying mortgage, for $1 or $100. And so I didn't lend her any money. There's no interest payments due. There's no any kind of payments due. There's no terminus on it. I bought a right, and I have the right to buy half that house. And because my IRA doesn't want to own a house, that's a liability problem. But my IRA loves buying the right to buy a house because if I have to, I'll sell that to somebody, you guy out there who wants to keep that nice house that she's foolishly going to give away at a profit.
And as you remember, I said on one of my single family early on, we raised some money by going to, in this case, a family member that was getting by and wanted a little bit of cash flow, and $300 a month was enough. Because when someone's on Social Security, you have a lot of cash, but just the Social Security coming in, it kind of works out real well. So we took a $30,000 in that case and used that to start another business, to do some more stuff. And they got $300 a month. They got something in return. And remember, everything we're doing, it benefits them, it benefits you. It's win-win. We're not just taking, I need money. We're offering opportunity and deals on to do things, okay? On how to better their lives, how to solve their problem. And so we're doing that. And so by the more you're doing that, the better paid you're going to get, the better opportunity you're going to have, because you're trying to help other people. And sometimes we do stuff for helping others, and there's no money in it. We're just finishing, putting them in the right direction, and trying to help someone, and we move on. We don't even get the deal. It happens.
Hey, Chris, so that $300 a month on that $30,000 you needed,
What interest rate is that?
No, it was 10%, 12%.
12%. 12% loan. Imagine that. Expensive money. $300 a month for $30,000 cash.
And I never paid $1 for that loan. I mean,
No points?
my renter made every payment. I never paid a dime. Okay?
Yeah, and I'm going to add to what I think what Farrah was getting at was, let's just say the scenario. I think what she was getting at is, will a hard money lender lend 100% of the purchase price? So let's backtrack a little bit, because we got really creative with how to find the money to close the gap. That's commonly called your gap funds. You've got 80% from the hard money, you need the gap, right? You need to fill that gap. So we will go up to 90% of purchase price on some deals. Let me get to the nuts and bolts of it. The thinner the deal, meaning the closer you pay retail for that deal, the less money we're going to lend. The more steel of a deal you got, the more we're going to lend, because it's all about our risk management. We're managing our risk as to if some silly guy drops a dirty bomb or something weird happens and you move to Costa Rica, you win the Bitcoin lottery, and we never hear from you again. The more equity we have, the better risk we have. We'll never do 100% because we want you to have some skin in the game. I can't say never. I mean, if you came in with a property worth $500,000 and you paid $250 for it, you know, we'd have to really look at that, you know, but that's just rare.
Okay. Andy, I have a question for you. If you needed gap funding, if you were in this room and you had a deal and you needed 10,000, 50,000, whatever for gap funding, does the club do an event that you could bring that deal to the room and get that money?
Absolutely. Second and fourth Thursdays from 11 to 1. It's a combo meeting, live at the office, limited to 15 members, and on Zoom. It's free for everybody. It's where we do deals. It's where funds are waiting to be invested in your deals. Where deals are waiting for your funds to come be invested, and we exchange ideas, and we exchange structures.
What do we call it?
I don't remember. It's exchangers, I think. No sleep and worked in the sun all day today. Come on.
And real quick, that deal I talked to that Mel did, that was at Exchangers is where that started with that RV and traded it, et cetera. We did a deal, traded in it with a free and clear house. The way we did the deal, and we did that in Exchangers. I was still going, what the hell? What? Can someone explain that again? So you can do it. There's all sorts of things, and just keep that in mind. Exchangers, and these guys run it. All right.
Yeah, that is next Thursday, and the next event we have is going to be on Monday. It's the Mentor Mixer. So Andy and Evan will be on there. Chris usually pops in also. So if you guys have any more questions for them, or you think of anything in the next 4 or 5 days. Mentor Mixer is on Monday at 6 p.m. It's on Zoom and it's free for everybody. So come on out to that. And then, of course, again, the mission is on the 27th of this month. So let's give all these 3 guys around